Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where we talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series premiere of Treadstone. A great series premiere, a lot of interesting kind of setup, kind of introducing us to, the story. It's interesting because obviously we start in like 73 where we had this dude named John who was being reprogrammed. What I'm trying to understand though, side note, I didn't even know that the Jason Bourne movies were based on a series of novels. Regardless, because I also said based on an organization. So it makes you wonder, are there multiple organizations, or is it just kind of like we're not necessarily... maybe it's just a thing of like they're pulling from the organization that's in the book, but they're not... There was maybe no, like, the stories that are being told are just, like, specific to the TV show and not something they're pulling from the book. Maybe that's what it's referencing. Or maybe it's, like, one specific organization they're pulling from the novels to kind of make an entire TV show kind of around. Regardless. I am curious because, like, obviously, like, that doctor that was there, one of the doctors there was kind of, one of the medical people or whatever. It's like, oh, you were here to kill me, but look at you now. So my question is about the John dude, because I don't remember the Bourne movies. I told myself I don't want to watch them before the series premiere. That didn't happen. But was the Treadstone program even that far back? So am I wondering, because obviously he seems like he's like kind of like a CIA agent. So it's like he was captured and reprogrammed. So like, because did they have access to the Treadstone program, or was he a part of it already? But then they reprogrammed it so that he's more in line with them. It's hard to say. I feel like he was a regular agent and then got programmed into what is essentially the Russians had gotten their hands on the Treadstone program and kind of tried to turn people into their own secret agents anyway. That's one borderline thinking, especially what they were doing to him, and obviously like playing that specific song to trigger his, like going to assassin mode essentially. So obviously it's interesting because we get introduced to our other characters. We get introduced to Tara, which that actress, I feel like I've seen her in something recently. I know one thing I know her from is on the originals. I'm blanking on her character's name, but she was one of the ladies from Elijah's, she's one of the people from Elijah's sire line. If you're unfamiliar with the originals and the Vampire Diaries and stuff like that, that literally means nothing to you. But the originals is like the last time I saw her that I can vividly remember. It was like season 3. But I feel like there's something more recent I saw her in. Nevertheless, which it seems like she's an ex-reporter, so part of me to like, because at first I was thinking like, oh, she's a part of this, but it's like, is she not? Because it's interesting because like this is about a General Kwan, which I recently saw that actor. The most recent thing I saw, I've seen him from time to time and stuff. I think the most recent thing I saw him in was Wu Assassins. But nevertheless, he goes to Tara because it's like, oh, you're a reporter. The fact of the matter is, there was this whole story she wrote about Stiletto 6. It was this, what was it, like a missile weapon or whatever, and basically it was like, oh, basically the story ended up destroying her career because it was like, oh, it's unfounded, blah 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 blah. It kind of like, I guess, destroyed her credibility and all that. But so that's why I'm like, okay, so like he says he's bringing her in because it's like, hey, you were always followed your instinct to the truth of a story. So it's like, hey, I want you to help out my family. Even referencing the fact is that she knows what it's like to lose family, which part of me wonders, because like obviously like when that CIA agent Matt was in the car with her, he was like, oh, that's your sister? How is your relationship? So we're best friends. I'm like, is that part of the family she's lost, or is that the only family she has left? Like what that story is, obviously we didn't get too deep into that, but I am curious like why he chose her. Because he's telling her about the cicada program and stuff like that, Treadstone. So I'm thinking I think she has nothing to do with it. I think she's just going to be a reporter investigating this. Maybe, or maybe she will have ties to this. I don't know. I'm interested to see. Like I don't think I've actually seen too much of this show. Like I've seen like little promos here and there, but I've never sat down and watched a full blown trailer. Maybe I did. I don't remember. So regardless, there's her side of things, and obviously, because it is interesting because Kwan picked her amongst anyone. So, like I said, is it just a reporting aspect, or is it just something else there that we're not aware of, that even the CIA is not aware of? Which obviously there's a whole conversation about the CIA hearing, like, why is this dude talking about Treadstone? Wasn't that shut down? And the dude's like, yeah, it was, but it ended up being bigger than what we thought. Which I assume it's like, we thought it was just something our government was doing. Apparently, other governments have spread out and kind of done it. Hence, like why I was referencing everything that was going down in Berlin with Petra and John. It seems like, no, that was kind of straight up like a their attempt at the Treadstone program. Maybe, I don't know. It's really hard to say because it's interesting because in the grand scheme of things, Home Dude had said that Quan was actually part of it. So, like, I guess different people in, like, rankings in the governments from all across the, like, I guess, like, the big powerhouses in the world end up coming together to create this program. Some just kind of went off and did their own thing with it. We're still kind of in the dark about a lot of stuff. Like I said, maybe, I don't know if, like, even the Jason Bourne movies would be, or the Bourne movies in general would be enough to kind of be like, oh, this is what this is. There's probably stuff that's specific to this show that ties into the movies, but not so codependent that it can kind of stand on its own. Maybe we'll kind of see. I was actually kind of surprised because they said this would, because what I was reading at certain points was referring to this as a prequel, which I guess, like, what we saw in 73 would count as the prequel elements, but everything else seems like it says present day. I thought they were going to be like, oh, is it going to be like early 2000s? That's what I was thinking, like, is it supposed to take place before all the Bourne movies and stuff like that? But it says present day, so it seems like it's after Bourne because Treadstone's already been shut down and stuff, so that's what I'm wondering. So I guess we'll just kind of flip back and forth. I guess we'll see the beginning of Treadstone and potentially the continuation in the many different formats it's in today, because obviously the Cicada project is their version of, Treadstone, I think. So that was just kind of an interesting situation. On top of that, there's everything with the mom in Korea, Soo-yeon. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, and it's not like Soo-yoon. But nevertheless, she just seems like an average mom. She's like a piano teacher, and just like I said, just a mom. But then her son has, like, in his locker was essentially something similar to a Game Boy, OG Game Boy. And I guess in Korea, and that was kind of interesting. I guess in Korea, like, outside technology isn't warranted. I guess in particular, maybe American stuff. Well, no, because it's not even American. Because it wasn't even a Game Boy. It must have been something specific. I don't even know what the hell that was. It looks like a Game Boy, but I'm sure, like, you probably can't legitimately say Game Boy, but they refer to it as American technology. So it's like, I'm about to say, it's like, yeah, it was a Game Boy. The Game Boy's Japanese, because Nintendo's Japanese. But regardless, it was an American gaming device, but it turns out, she turns it on a little bit, and the song starts playing, so it's like she's about to be activated, but she doesn't activate. Like, she just stops it in time. So it was starting, but I'm wondering, once it kind of starts, if you don't go all the way through, like, what kind of state does that leave you in? Because it seemed like she was kind of driven by, like, obviously the message that was in there, yet it seemed like she wasn't fully under, like, the fact that she wasn't full assassin mode, So I thought that was kind of interesting. She follows it, and it leads her to General Quan, who he said that he wasn't the reason why he went to Terra, because it's like, I know I'm not going to make it out of this, so help me protect my family. And obviously he looks at her, and it's like, oh, he's familiar with her because he was a part of the program and everything. So he's like, oh, you were kind of like the most skilled of all of them. It's like, who woke you up? Which begs the question, who did? Because the thing is, they put it in her son's locker. It wasn't even directly to her. It was in her son's locker, which I just thought that was kind of interesting. What made them think that she would take it and end up doing that? I don't know. Like I said, because she's not even in the state of fully being awake. And obviously, when she's fighting Quan, it's just mainly out of self-defense. Like, she isn't full-blown, oh, I gotta kill him. But obviously, when she's fighting for survival, obviously, it kicks in, which is a pretty impressive hand-to-hand fight. And kind of a brutal ending, because she was supposed to just straight up poison, I guess, to make it look like an accident, or maybe it look like natural causes, or at the very least, there are no ties to you, but then, like, it's like, oh no, she ends up having to strangle him, which is actually, like, brutal, because she's, like, got her leg in his back, pulling on the scarf or whatever. This is a brutal way to die, and obviously, the syringe is there, stuck in the drain, so it's like, she never got that, so that's probably not going to be good. So, because obviously she doesn't understand. She's like, she's got more questions than answers. Because, like I said, that's what's weird. Because she's in a limbo state. She was in the beginning of being awoken, but she wasn't. But she was just maybe some instinct in her was like, I got to follow this. I don't know where this is leading. Let me go see what this is all about. But she, there's some, programming there, like almost like a computer. Like there's some software program kind of working in the background that you're not really sure why, but it's doing some stuff and you're just not really sure what it is doing, and her body just kind of reacted in that way and just kind of went along with it, I'm assuming. Then on top of that, we have Doug, who was played by Brian J. Smith, who played Will on Sense8, which is kind of interesting because it's almost got that like international vibe that Sense8 has. I'm curious I wonder, are they filming on location? Because I think that's what they did in Sense8, and that like made it super expensive. Also, I think I was seeing Tim Kring's name all over the place. I'm like, holy crap! If you're unaware, like he's been a part of many different projects, but the one I know he's definitely like had the biggest hand in is because he's the one who created Heroes, the TV show. He's definitely had his hand in other TV shows too. There's a TV show that had, I think it was Touch. It had Kiefer Sutherland, and I'm blanking on, it's David, but I'm blanking on his last name. He's the actor who played Bruce Wayne in the TV show Gotham. That kid. So, regardless, I'm going on a huge tangent, but, yeah. He seems like he's working on a rig. There's that whole thing about his wife telling him to take pills, and it's like, oh, making sure that his friends are making sure that he's taking pills. It's like, what the hell is that about? That's so interesting. Like I said, we're literally dropped in the middle of people's lives. And it's so interesting when you compare this to Jason, because like when we got introduced to Jason, he didn't remember anything. It was just kind of like, he was kind of a bit of a blank slate. Like obviously there was like some memory muscle about fighting and stuff like that, sure. Which I guess that could be what happened with Soo-yeon, is the fact is her muscle memory kicked in, and that's how she was able to defend herself. Even that whole point of her crossing that line between the buildings, I was like, as someone who's afraid of heights, I was just not too keen on that scene. But regardless, obviously, because she even talked about the fact that she knew English. It's like, how do I know English? Similar to Jason, like he was like, I know all these different languages. How the hell do I, there's like I said, it all kind of falls in that category of muscle memory. Even though you don't remember everything, your body remembers certain things, your mind does, which is interesting because this also ties into Blind Spot to a certain extent, because in that same regard, because interesting enough, I forgot to talk about it, but that CIA dude played a CIA dude on Blind Spot. It's so interesting because I feel like that actor, you see him in so many different things. I feel like typically, maybe it's just the few things I've seen him in, but I feel like he gets a little typecast as kind of like some governmental douchebag, essentially. They make him kind of play like the borderline bad guy. I mean, Borderline played one in season 1 of Blind Spot, but regardless, his character's name was Carter on Blind Spot, if I remember correctly. But regardless, I'm going on a whole tangent, but Doug goes to the bar and everything, because obviously him and his buddies have a lot of people on the rig lost their jobs, and it's like they're not even in a position where it's like, oh, we're going to set you up with a new job. It's like, wait, what? So he goes to the bar, he's talking to this lady, and it's like, you look familiar. I'm like, oh, what's that about to turn into? And she's like, oh, like she's thinking like, oh, you're hitting on me. So he's like, oh, no. She's like, I'm just messing with you. I'm like, okay. But then what was interesting, once again, muscle memory kicking in, because Doug defends himself against those D-bags that attack him, and he lays them out. But once again, he's not fully awakened. But what's interesting later on is he talks to her, and he brought up this whole conversation of like the two-way mirror thing, being in his white room, and he's seeing himself, because he doesn't even remember what it is that he wanted out of his own, life. You feel like he doesn't even know himself. Which, if I remember correctly, that was very similar to Jason Bourne's situation of like the white room and the two-way mirror, right? I'm pretty sure that was the thing. Once again, it's been a long time since I've seen, because I'm only, if you're unaware, because I talked about this before, but I've only seen the original trilogy. I never saw, Legacies with Jeremy Renner or Jason Bourne. That was like the 5th one. I haven't seen those, and like I said, it's been a while since I've seen Identity, Supremacy, and Ultimatum. But regardless, so the lady ends up singing the song, and she's like, all right, let's see if it sticks this time. I guess like maybe she had secretly done it, activated him in the bar, but it didn't stick. But this time it's like, all right, let's make sure it sticks this time. So once again, the question is becoming like, is this part of Cicada program? Is this part of Treadstone? Like I said, they seem like they're competing things. Like I said, I feel like obviously Cicada is the Russian thing, but it's like, who's under that umbrella? Because we see that dude John is a part of it, but who's to say like all these other characters, whether it be Tara, whether it be Soo-yeon, or whether it be Doug are a part of that, or are they part of Treadstone before it was shut down? I don't know. Like I said, there's so much, because even Doug wakes up, he's got blood on his hand. He has a picture, I guess, of his target. There's a bag. Wasn't it 2P2? Isn't that, I could be blinking. Is that like an explosive device, or is that like from something related to drugs? I feel like I feel stupid. I feel like it's probably something explosive. I don't know what it was. I feel like, because I think I'm thinking of that as something from Breaking Bad, because I'm recently rewatching the series. So I don't know if I'm confusing that with something. Regardless, I'm going into a whole tangent, but it was like, he woke up being like, okay, what the hell is that all about? So once again, it's like, these people kind of have lives. And then we're going to, on top of all of that, I guess that's the whole point of like, it's kind of like, I think we're going to get basically a combination of like, basically the Bourne movies meets The Americans, which I need to circle back to that show. I know it's done now, but I got to near the end of season 2 and I just never circled back around to the show. I've heard nothing good things and I really like what I saw. I just never circled back around to it. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because those characters were literally embedded in America. They're Russian trained. They're Russian operatives pretending to be Americans. And the fact is that they had children of their own to blend in and stuff like that. But obviously we see that, Doug is married and stuff like that. Soo-Yoon has a family, a husband and son. So it's like the thing of like, yeah, once again, that depends on what they end up doing with the whole Tara situation, what her whole deal ends up being. But very interesting circumstances. Almost forgetting about, I feel that, like, I was like, okay, so what's up with this Russian couple? Like, what's that going to turn into? To do with the hearing aid and everything? It's like, oh, I'm hearing something. It's coming from the barn. His wife is like, oh, no buzzing now. I'm like, yep, there's something hidden there. It's like, the moment you go in there, you're going to die because she's going to kill you because you stumbled across something you shouldn't have. And lo and behold, it does happen. She's like, I warned you. And it turns out, because we see that she's missing her finger, that it's Petra from 73. John seems like he had escaped, so it's like, okay, so what does that turn into? And it turns out Stiletto 6 is there. She has it, I guess. So, obviously everything Tara was saying wasn't BS. That obviously, what the story that destroyed her career, there is truth and validity to it. So, there's so many angles to this. I feel like they squeezed a lot into this, like, premiere, in the sense of kind of showing you, like, setting up so much stuff while also still leaving you in the dark about so much stuff. Like I said, I'm wondering if I'd watch the Bourne movies now, would that make a little bit more sense? Would it kind of fill in some of the holes I might have had? Or, like I said, maybe they make it so it's its own thing of like, yeah, it takes place in that universe, but you don't need the Bourne movies to kind of really fully understand everything that's going on. Obviously, you need to know that obviously Treadstone's like a secret assassin program of like reprogramming people into being secret weapons. They live normal lives and then you can activate them. It's kind of like a sleeper cell type of thing. It's literally a sleeper cell type of thing. Because obviously, like, I don't know if that's something they'll really go into. I'd assume so, because this is about Treadstone. It's literally the title of the show, that they probably will go into explaining it. So it might be a thing where you don't need the Bourne movies because, like, this is such a separate story. But regardless, I'm very interested to see ultimately where this ends up taking us. Like, see where everyone's story takes us. Because I was thinking it was just going to be these 3, but now it seems like maybe it'll be 4 with John's story, whatever that ends up being. But at the same time, it's like, I'm wondering, are we going to get introduced to other? Is it going to become like a Sense8 thing where you kind of bounce around between multiple characters on obviously on an 8-person scale, or is it just going to be bouncing between those 3 present day and then the past? So, like I said, following 4 different characters. Either way, I'm very interested to see what's next up for the show. Sorry, had a brain fart there. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Until next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.